From TeachIllinois.com, this is The Teacher's Classroom, the podcast that explores current issues and topics in education and how they relate to teaching and students. Here is your host, Matt Weld.
Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of The Teacher's Classroom. Today, we're going to be talking about Illinois computing educators and ISTE and networking and professional development, all kinds of topics with Amber Heffner. And I'm excited to have her today. If this is your first time listening to The Teacher's Classroom, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to subscribe so you will be notified of any new episodes. The Teacher's Classroom is produced semi-monthly and is supported by the Area 5 Regional Offices of Education. Information about the podcast can be found at www.teachillinois.com, which is an online professional development platform. As I mentioned, our guest today is Amber Heffner. She is the executive director of the Illinois Computing Educators, often referred to as ISTE, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing professional development opportunities to educators throughout the state. ISTE is the Illinois affiliate of the International Society for Technology and Education, commonly referred to as ISTE, which is the premier nonprofit organization serving educators and education leaders who are committed to empowering connected learners in a connected world. Amber has a Bachelor of Science in Education, a Master's in Counseling, a second Master's in Educational Leadership. Her background as a coach, a teacher, a counselor, and a school administrator created experience from which she draws from her role. For her role today, Amber strives to empower educators with the support, valuable professional development, resources, and networking opportunities that support their professional growth to the best they can be for students, because after all, that is our ultimate goal. So welcome to the show, Amber.
Thank you, Matt. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's just start off with ISTE. Can you give us some background on this organization and their history, their goals, that kind of thing?
Sure, absolutely. So ISTE has been an organization for many years. They were formerly known as a different organization, became ISTE in 2013. And they are a group that is very passionate about connecting with educators across the globe. They are strongly involved in increasing opportunities to transform teaching and learning through the use of technology. They also are very passionate about innovation and solving problems in education. They offer practical guidance, evidence-based professional learning, virtual networks, thought-provoking events, and many people know ISTE by the ISTE standards. Formally, these standards were adopted specifically for computer science teachers. Most states did not have computer science standards, but ISTE had provided those. They've recently reached out and begun developing additional standards as well. But that is the main purpose of people knowing ISTE originally was for those computer science standards. They're offering a lot of different types of events now besides the conference, but many people also know them for their annual ISTE conference in June.
So that conference is gigantic. Thanks to you and ICE, I was able to attend this year, also because it was in Chicago, so it was close by and didn't have to, spend money on a plane ticket. But that was jaw-dropping. Can I just say that? The number of people from all over the world, educators all gathered in one spot, was truly remarkable.
I would agree.
As I understand, it rotates, right?
That is correct. Yes. It rotates throughout the U.S. And this is the first year that it was back in the Midwest since 2001.
And next year it will be in?
Next year is in Philly. And so 2019 in Philly and 2020 in Anaheim.
So I know it's been in Austin and in Atlanta and Denver too, right? So
that is
it hits all
correct.
the big cities because they would need a huge venue.
They do. Yes. And we were very excited this year, to be able to be a part of the programming for the ISTE conference. We had a phenomenal group of people who were directly involved on the programming team, and then also amazing educators like yourself who worked and helped on reviewing proposals and submissions to help put that portion of the program together. So it was a very exciting opportunity to, one, have it back in the Midwest, and then two, also be able to be a part of that programming. I know they put out their locations, I believe, 4 years in advance. So it could be a while before we know if we're on the rotation again to have it back in the Midwest. But you're absolutely right. Midwest had a great showing. We had record numbers at the ISTE conference this year. So we set the highest number of attendees ever at the ISTE conference with exhibitors and vendors. We were well over 20,000 people in Chicago this summer.
That's a lot of people. And so that was part of your role as executive director of ICE. So let's get to ICE, because I know in this part of the state down here outside St. Louis, that's not a very common term, but up in Chicago, everybody was talking about ICE. So can you give us some background and, what ICE is and their mission?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are the state affiliate of ISTE. So we are very much dedicated to the same type of mission and vision and role as ISTE. Our main focus has been on promoting the use and integration of technology into the classrooms. But as we all know, technology changes very quickly, but also has become a part of what is just expected in a classroom today.
Right.
So as an organization, we've been taking a look at who we are, and what we offer, and how we can continue impacting educators in the ways that they need support. So most recently, very similar to ISTE, most people know our organization for our annual conference as well. In addition to the chapters that we have that provide regional professional learning opportunities in their geographical locations in Illinois. In regards to our conference, and some of the direction that our chapters have been taking, we're really looking at a true impact on education and what does that look like. So if you took a look at the strands that we offer, for instance, at our annual conference, you're going to see a lot of different things besides just a focus on educational technology. We've begun having strands that include learning spaces, library, media specialist. We have also included different types of strands for ESL and ELL, special education, leadership. And this year, additionally, something new is a very strong focus on the Thursday of our conference for IT directors. We received a lot of feedback that though we do offer some strands for IT directors in the state of Illinois, there really isn't something that is specifically focused on the needs that IT directors, IT staff have, such as, cloud computing and the actual boxes and wires pieces that happen behind the scenes to make the classroom technology work, for educators in their buildings. So we have a very strong focus of strands that will be available for those educators as well on the fourth day of our conference this year on Thursday. We also do a lot of work with our regional chapters as well. And as you mentioned, the chapter in the southern portion of the state is gearing up for some exciting things in the year ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I was pleased going to the ICE conference the last couple of years with the leadership strand. I gained so much knowledge and networking, met a lot of great people that I've remained in contact with. So we'll talk about networking here in a little bit, but I just want to stress that a huge reason that I go to conferences is the networking. And I think that's a great opportunity for people.
That absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And as you said, we can get to that a little bit later, but that's certainly a passion of mine personally in the role that I have as executive director. But it's also one of the greatest positive feedbacks that we get at our events and at our conferences, the opportunity to be able to connect with so many great educators.
Yeah, because everyone there just is very real. And you can walk up to a superintendent and have a conversation, whereas when you're in a building, that's not always so easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So you mentioned the ISTE standards earlier. Let's dive into them a little bit further, because I know there's different divisions, one for educators, one for students, et cetera. Can you walk us through some of those standards and maybe give us a couple so we can kind of get an idea of their concept and how broad they are?
Absolutely. So the ISTE standards, as you said, Matt, they are designed. Currently, there's standards for students, educators, education leaders, coaches, and computer science educators. The standards are very focused, on looking at transforming education. So what their main purpose is being able to help educators and education leaders redesign schools and classrooms for what learning looks like today in the digital age. Some of the examples, for instance, for an educator is showing the importance of being a lifelong learner. So one of the standards is, as an educator, to be a learner by continually improving their practice, by learning from and with others, exploring proven and promising practices that leverage technology to improve student learning. There's also an educator standard for being a leader, for being a citizen and role modeling digital citizenship. There's a standard for being a collaborator, a designer, a facilitator, and an analyst. So what I really like about the ISTE standards is how they really all connect. So when you look at the student standards and you look at the educator standards, you're going to see very much how they relate to one another. In the way that as an educator, as a lifelong learner, we want to be modeling what it is that we want from our students as they develop and learn and grow into adults. So I think that's one of the biggest strengths about the ISTE standards, is how they relate to one another and are really aimed at transforming the classroom, transforming education, and really developing a global perspective. As
opposed to dictating what is taught.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think when I've had the opportunity that ISTE has come up with a certified approved provider program for training in the ISTE standards. We're very excited to be approved to be a trainer for the ISTE standards.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We will be officially putting that information out here in the next week with more information to come on that. But I've had the opportunity to do some deep dives into the ISTE standards, and I really feel that that's the thing that impacted me personally the most, is how it is not telling you what to teach. what to be doing specifically. They're not content standards. They're much more broad and show a true impact, by thinking and developing what you're doing within your classroom, within your building, within your district. By utilizing these standards, you're making an impact on students and how they will develop and become better citizens, become better learners, develop those opportunities to have, skills that are really needed in the areas for success in their future.
So how would a classroom teacher take the ISTE standards and the content standards and kind of weave them together?
That's a great question. Because we all know that, in Illinois, there is content standards that, have to be looked at. And if I were a classroom teacher today, I would probably start with the ISTE standards and take a look at how they really can be the foundation of what you are doing within your classroom. And then use the content standards within Illinois to hit those very specific pieces of content that is needed. So looking at the content standards as what it is that's developing for the curriculum that you're using, or the content that you're using within your classroom. But the foundation of that is built on the ISTE standards themselves.
So I'm looking at the educator standards here, and it says under facilitator. So the educator standards under number 6, facilitator, it says model and nurture creativity and creative expression to communicate ideas, knowledge, and connections. So if that's something that the teacher wanted to work on, they would set that as their, like a culture or tone, right, for their class and their instruction. And then within that, as a 7th grade science teacher, I could say, now I'm going to teach the cell or whatever.
Right. That specific content. Exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
I think it's great how the ISTE standards kind of create that umbrella.
You're exactly right. Using that as the foundation and then looking at, as a science teacher, the content that is actually very specific to what it is that you need to be discussing and creating with your students in the classroom.
And I know that your conference, the ICE conference in February each year, and then the METC conference in St. Louis, which is in like a few weeks earlier in the year, presentations have to be targeted to those standards as opposed to content standards. Those are the standards that the presentations are aiming to target.
That is correct. And that's a really good point, Matt. Thank you for bringing that up. When our proposals come through, we do ask for the standards that they're related to, and specifically attempting to target those ISTE standards, to show that foundation, again, that foundational piece of what you can be building on. And that's really some of the great feedback that we get as well, that so many of our presentations can be effective and helpful and supportive of educators, no matter what it is that they're teaching. And I think there's a lot of power, in that as well. There are some very specific strands that we have in regards to, presenters that have specific math applications or specific English applications, that they target. But in general, the 95% of, our sessions at our conference are built on those ISTE standards, and really can be utilized and helpful in whatever content area you teach.
Which is great for the attendees, because you might be sitting next to an elementary, special education teacher, and here I am, an administrator or a high school teacher, and we're all gaining resources and content and resources for our classroom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing I want to touch on is providing professional development. Your role and my role, I think, coincide in those spheres. And so what are some models of presenting professional development that you have found to be most beneficial? Is it conference? Is it smaller sessions that you hold on specific topics, or what have you found?
I have found what we really try to look at is, again, I want to go back to that modeling piece. I feel very strongly as a professional development organization that we need to be modeling what we want to see happening, at the most important level, which is the classroom, directly related to the students. So we really try to differentiate what it is that we offer as an organization for professional learning, in hopes that is also what is occurring within the classroom. So I very often will refer to differentiation from a professional learning perspective as well. So we as an organization have looked at putting out needs assessments. So our chapters have the opportunity to share with us what are the needs within your geographical region. As we all know, the needs are vast depending upon not only geographically where you're located within the state of Illinois, but even in those geographic regions, there can be vast differences. So ensuring that what we offer meets the needs of all educators in the state of Illinois. So we provide many different types, be it webinars, be it conference, be it smaller face-to-face events. We've been involved with, hosting ed camps. We also have a monthly Twitter chat. I'm very passionate about learning can occur in many different ways, whether you're a student or whether you're an adult. Some people are very passionate and learn best in those face-to-face opportunities. Some people learn via Twitter chats, interacting with people, in a less face-to-face way, but still interacting with people and sharing resources. So that's what we have found, is that depending upon how each learner allows themselves to be creative and find that way that works best for them, we want to ensure that we're providing all of those different opportunities across the state as much as possible. And those opportunities would include networking. Correct. We said we'd get back to networking, so let's do it. Absolutely. And as you know, that is definitely a passion of mine. One of the things that I love to do is, interact with educators across the state and find out what their needs are and find out, where do they need some additional support. And then being able to link them and connect them with somebody who's, doing very well in that area. And that's been very, very fulfilling for me personally and professionally to see those options happen. I don't think that we can hit on the importance of networking enough. Again, whether that is face-to-face, whether that is online, whether that's through a webinar, whatever means we can make that happen, I feel that networking is very important. Even in our monthly Twitter chats, we have people connecting and networking. Our hope is that eventually, through those chats or those online interactions, that people eventually get the opportunity to meet face to face. Whether that be at our annual conference, whether that be at a chapter event. I do think face-to-face is very valuable. As you said, it's so exciting to be sitting next to someone, hear them share something or, ask a question. And then from there, you have this relationship with someone that that you can connect to. You've done a very good job with that, Matt. I was very excited at the Directions Conference this summer to see superintendents from the northern part of the state coming to, the St. Louis area and presenting. That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. Well, thank you. And guess where I met them?
At the ICE conference.
At our conference. That's just, that's so exciting, to be able to have those connections and know that there's, that resource out there if you need, and how better to improve as an individual in your own personal and professional growth than to be able to stretch your perspective beyond your small area, geographically. I've learned so much from people from all over the state, and in my interactions with other executive directors of ISTE affiliates across the U.S. And, to have that opportunity to network in those ways is just phenomenal. And I know people are sometimes hesitant to jump on a Twitter chat or jump online and interact with people. But what I've found is that educators are the most amazing, supportive people, not only within, the classroom to their students, but with each other professionally.
I remember when I got onto Twitter, I can remember the day I joined Twitter. It was over Christmas break. I think it was my first year as an administrator, and I was burned out. I was worn out. And right? I got on Twitter and I found all these people who were in the same position I was, but they were all very positive. It's such a positive place. And I just remember emailing all these people and oh my God, look what I found.
Yes.
And I spent the rest of Christmas break just diving into all this. And I love to tell people that I would not be in this position where I am right now if it had not been for Twitter. That I can trace my getting this position as director of innovation here to people I've met on Twitter or interactions I've had on Twitter. So I can testify.
I love that story, Matt. I absolutely love that story. And I have to say, I can share a very similar one. I agree. The first time that I got on Twitter, it was amazing. It was like a new world opened up.
I would start singing, but I'm not going to, about a whole new world. All right. So, where can people find out more about ICE, about maybe you personally on Twitter, about the chat, about this upcoming ISTE training on the standards through ICE? Where's a good place for them to find you? And I will put that link on the web page.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I would start with our website, www.iceberg.org. And we post as much as we possibly can on our website. We have a calendar of events, which is very easy to navigate. You can subscribe to the calendar as well. It's a Google Calendar. But all of our chapter events are on there. All of our Twitter chats, our webinars, the partner events that we host with some of our partners are on there as well. We also have contact information. So my contact information would be on the website as well.
All right.
We also have other trainings besides the ISTE training. That information will be up very soon. We also have Makey trainings that we do. And we also are in partnership with Wonder Workshop to offer the Teach Wonder online training, in which you get the Dash robot or the Q robot, depending upon what level of training you're interested in. So that information's on our website as well. As you can clearly see from what we've talked about here, we are all about Twitter and connecting on Twitter. So the ICE account on Twitter is at @ICE_IL. I am personally on Twitter at Amber_Heffner, and love to interact with people on Twitter and share on Twitter. We post a lot of information on our ICE Twitter account as well. We do have Instagram and Facebook. That is ice.illinois for Instagram and Facebook. And we also have a Remind account, which is ice-il, where we send out reminders of our Twitter chats or upcoming events or webinars that we're hosting there as well. But I encourage people to reach out to me either via Twitter or, again, my email address is on the Iceberg account as well. in regards to support that you might need, networking ideas. We are here to support educators in any way we can. And I love meeting new people, hearing their stories, and being able to share and connect in those ways.
Fantastic. We talked about I was writing all those Twitter handles down. What is the hashtag for the Twitter chat?
The hashtag for our Twitter chat is ISTE, IL chat. And our Twitter chats are the last Thursday of each month, except in November and December, just because of where the holidays fall. But again, that information is on the Twitter, the Google Calendar on our website as well, on when those change. But we have one coming up here in September, at the 27th, with Jennifer Williams from Participate. And then our October Twitter chat will be with Eric Patanudis from Otis. And we will be discussing modern learning assessments and collaboration and interacting with a great group of experts from across the state at our October chat as well.
Well, Amber, you are a wealth of information and opportunities for teachers. So I'll put as much of this as I can on the webpage so that people can visit teachillinois.com and find, clickable links as well. So if they were driving in their car and they didn't get a chance to write it down, it'll be there.
Well, we appreciate that, Matt, and we are very excited about continuing to support what you are doing in your area and the ROEs across the state. Together, I really feel that, moving in this direction, we can impact educators and support educators in the ways that they need, and together we are stronger.
That's a great note to leave it. Together we are stronger. So thank you, Amber, for your time, and thank all of you for listening to the Teacher's Classroom, part of the Illinois Area 5 Professional Development and Innovation Initiative. I'm your host, Matt Weld. Please subscribe to the Teacher's Classroom and share today's episode with any other colleagues who you might think would find interest or benefit from learning about ICE and ISTE. You can follow Teach Illinois on Twitter at TeachILPD, and I can be found at Matthew Weld. You can find and subscribe to the Teacher's Classroom on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, pretty much wherever you can find your podcasts. In the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you next time right here on the Teacher's Classroom.